This is the There Is Another Way podcast from spencerbruce.com. Making life work as a creative. Hi there, boys and girls. How are you all doing out there in podcast land? I hope you are all doing well. First off, let me wish you all a slightly belated Happy New Year, Happy 2020, Happy New Decade. I hope it has all begun for you well and all is fine. Apologies for the lack of podcasts this year. I am going to go into an explanation as to why that has happened, and it is certainly something to think about if you are on There Is Another Way lifestyle, just something to bear in mind. And probably the lesson learnt here, or the lesson I'm going to explain to you, is very much a case of do as I say, not as I do. We are also going to be discussing the topic of make better choices. I recently did a very short YouTube video about this around the time of the new year, but I wanted to go into it in more detail in the podcast. And really, I know it's a little bit late here, but if you are struggling with New Year's resolutions already, which is possibly, maybe this podcast is timely because this may be the time a couple of weeks into the new year where some of those resolutions and goals are already seeming like a distant memory, and you've already maybe slipped up on one or two. Don't worry, that's not the point. And hopefully this technique of make better choices will put you on a better course to achieving the things that you want to achieve throughout the year. Why has there been no podcast? Why am I a little bit late to the podcast this year? Well, it's a simple story. Now, I tell my students all the time when practicing, if you are feeling any pain, that you should always stop practicing guitar. And this kind of applies to maybe anything. If you're feeling bodily pain or maybe even mental pain, then, you need to take a step back. But being a freelancer, being self-employed means that sometimes you may push yourself a little harder because no show to a gig, no pay. That's the way it works. So yeah, there are occasions when you maybe put your health second and you get out there. And to be honest, a lot of the times it's your mind telling you that, you're feeling a bit rough. But once I felt this anyway, once you start doing the gig, once I start teaching or whatever, you get over it and you find and think, oh yeah, that was just nothing. But physical pain, I think, is something a little bit different. I've been having a lot of problems with my elbow for maybe even a number of years now. And I've seen a few people and it comes and it goes, and I've kind of ignored it. I try to rest it when possible. At the gym, there are certain exercises I can't do because it hurts, so I just don't do them. But it hasn't really affected my guitar playing immensely. Can you tell what's coming next? Anyway, just before Christmas, we had a relatively busy gigging period, so I was playing a lot. I'm also recording my album Inner Circles, so I really am playing a lot of guitar, or was playing a lot of guitar, and I was getting pain. But rather than getting a depth player in for me, it didn't really happen until during halfway through one gig when I was really like, ow, this is starting to hurt. So what I did, the show must go on. That's the kind of mantra. Whatever happens, the show's got to go on and we've got to get through. So I iced my arm up during the break, carried on. Thanks to my bandmates at the end, I didn't have to carry too much heavy stuff out, but I always feel a little bit useless, so I still carried some stuff, and I thought, it'll be fine. Got to the next gig, and it was still hurting, but the same thing. Got about halfway through, iced my arm up, I got through the gig, and this carried on. And of course, as I'm sure you can probably guess, I was in a lot of pain, so I went to the doctor, and, I've got to go and get physio and rest. So maybe I should have just dropped a couple of gigs and rested my arm when it was at its worst, rather than pushing it and damaging it some more. This is a lesson time immemorial. I'm sure there are countless examples of people doing this. And as I say, if my students were doing this, I'd be extremely annoyed at them. It's very much a case of do as I say and as I don't. But there is a double edge to this story, and this explains why the podcast is a little bit late this month. So I went to the doctor, and he gave me some pills, as long as recommending physio, to ease some of the pain, because I was being kept awake at night. That's how much pain I was in. Well, these tablets just destroyed me. I'm not being overly dramatic. I only took a couple of doses and then I just knew there was something up, and my gut instinct told me it was the pills that were doing this, because there's being ill and I've had pills before in the past, but this was like something else. I just didn't even feel like me. It was like me was trapped. God knows what they were doing. But alongside that, and I'm really not going to go into any details, there are a lot of negative side effects. And once you've read all the side effects in the little book that comes with the pills, you go, yeah, I've got that, and that, and that. And these are all pretty bad things when, your body's doing all these other bits and pieces. It got a bit serious. And as a result of that, I was just flawed. And I'm very rarely flawed. I get sick and I get ill, but I always tend to carry on. I was flawed by this. I just didn't want to do anything, read the book, watch TV, anything really. I just wanted to sleep and just be kind of zombified almost. Luckily, my gut instinct told me to, before I even saw the doctor, it's like, I'm just not taking these pills. I can live with the arm pain. I can't live with feeling this bad. As a result of feeling low and everything like that, of course, I then managed to capture, or probably caught around the same time, a chest infection, which has also knocked me out. So I've just been a complete wreck. And that brings me on to one of the biggest downsides of this whole there is another lifestyle. As you know, we don't pull any punches on this podcast. We kind of tell it how it is, or that's my goal, is to tell it how it is. And whilst I would never, ever go back to employment, God forbid, the 9 to 5, anything like that, there are so many advantages of being self-employed and freelance. One of the downsides is, if you're sick and you don't work, you don't get paid. And that can be a little bit stressful. Luckily, I have other things in place where, I'm not too worried, because as I always say, and we've recommended over the years, over the podcast, have a safety egg, have a safety net. So money wasn't really the worry, but it still rankles a little bit, because sod's law, it's the new year, projects are coming in, people want you to do stuff, and you're like, I can't, I'm really sorry, I just can't do it. And you're kind of knocked out the game. So the lesson learned here for me is, and hopefully to you guys, is I probably should have dropped 1 or 2 gigs, lost the pay on 1 or 2 gigs, because in the long run, it's cost me a lot. It's cost me a lot more downtime. It's cost me productivity time. My album is now way off schedule. Other projects are way off schedule. The podcast is way off schedule. You can see where I'm going with this. Everything is way off schedule. Look after yourselves is the number one thing. If you're feeling pain, if you're feeling unwell, prioritize yourself first. Don't worry about the work. Don't worry about the gigs. They will come back. They will be there when you get better. Just take the time out to let your body heal. There we go. That's a good start to 2020, isn't it? Speaking of which, the original topic of this podcast was make better choices. And this is just a little quick tip that I wanted to share to you. As you know, over the course of this podcast, I've been talking about goals and making resolutions and setting goals. And I've kind of changed my thoughts on that. The more I do it, the more I feel that they don't always work for me. And maybe this is the same for you. You wanted to lose weight at the beginning of the year, or you want to quit smoking, or you want to produce this, and you want to finish this project, and you want to do all these things. And you set at the beginning of the year, I'm going to do all this. And then within a couple of weeks, life takes over and you fail. In my instance, life took over and I failed to meet some of my goals already this year. So what can I do about it? It's all about getting back on track. I really started to think about how to make this work better. And it came down to a really, really simple solution. And that simple solution is a mantra that I want to share with you, and a mantra that I am really now starting to believe in and really use in my life. And it's my New Year's mantra. It's not about resolutions. It's not about that. But all it is simply make better choices. It's really simple. If you're trying to achieve things, if you're trying to achieve goals, whatever it might be, creative projects, new businesses, the simple thing is make better choices. And that's such a grand statement. So what do I mean by that? Well, very simply put, you can apply this to many, many aspects and levels of life. And you don't have to follow it through all the time. But I decided that I'm going to make better choices about how I spend my time. I'm going to make better choices about what I put inside my body. Ooh, misses. I'm going to... Sorry, I don't know where that innuendo came from. Maybe I'll edit that out. I'm going to make better choices about who I choose to spend my time with. I'm going to make better choices about what I watch. I'm going to make better choices about what I buy. I'm going to make better choices about my workflow in the studio. As you can see, once you start to make better choices and apply it to different levels in your life, it can be quite life-changing. And that's what I'm finding. And let me give you an example. So a simple example will be make better choices about what I eat. That's it. I don't necessarily think I'm on a diet. Make better choices about what you eat. This is something I am doing. And it negates the necessity to go on a diet, for example. It just means that when you're sitting down and planning your food or looking at your food, you just make a better choice. Doesn't mean you can't have certain things, and that would just mean that that day you made a bad choice. Get on with it, deal with it, but the next time, make a better choice. Don't necessarily always eat lots of fried food. Make a better choice. Grill something. Do you see how it's starting to work now? As soon as you start to think about this mindset, or at least for me, as soon as I started thinking about this mindset, it made a better way then, rather than sticking to these goals and rules which seem so robust and rigid. It's almost like an iterative process, because we all know that probably at some time we're going to make a bad choice. It's just the next time, try to make a better choice. Do you go for the healthier option, or do you choose the worst, the unhealthy option? My simple thing now is, rather than worrying and maybe not eating things that I enjoy sometimes, is know that from time to time I'm going to eat something that is possibly labeled as bad for me, but I'm going to enjoy it. But most of the time I'm going to try to make a better choice about what it is I pick off the shelf, what it is I put inside my body, what drinks. In some regards, I'm pretty healthy in that, because I don't really drink a lot. I don't drink fizzy drinks. I don't drink coffee, all those things. So even so, I can still go, rather than having many cups of tea, I'm going to make a better choice and have a herbal cup, or I'm going to have more water. This is a choice that I am making, and it is a choice that is benefiting me. And when you see these benefits, I think this is where this technique really comes into play. Other areas, make better use of my time. Yeah, I love sitting down and watching box sets and films, but time is short. I have creative projects to do. So I have the decision at that point to sit down and watch a box set, or get on with one of my projects, or read a book. Reading a book, to me personally, now feels like a better choice than sitting down and just watching some throwaway TV. You can kind of see where this is going with some of the things I've been talking about over the last couple of months, but I'm making better choices about social media. I am picking my time to go on there. I'm making better choices about who I follow. And at the rest of the time, I'm making a choice, what I perceive as a better choice, to read a book or explore some learning avenues that I want to explore. These, to me, are a better choice. It doesn't mean I don't do the other thing. It's just at a time when I'm thinking about it, I consciously think, what is the better choice now? What is the better use of my time? What is the better thing that is going into my body? Talking about people. Now, this is a harder one. There are a lot of people, maybe business colleagues, work colleagues, business and work choices that you make, projects that you choose, that suck your time and don't really amount to anything. My goal would be now, or my mantra would be now, make a better choice. Do I want to work with this person? What has happened in the past? Or can I make a better choice? Would a better choice, rather than accepting this small piece of work which doesn't really mean anything and it's not really going to leave me anywhere and going to cost a lot of my time, a better choice would be to invest it in my own project, or invest it into spending time with friends and family. Those are the things. It's a very simple concept. Make better choices. And don't worry when you don't make the right choice. Just next time think, can I make a better choice than the one I just made? That will lead me to where I am trying to get to on my goals, where I'm trying to get to on my resolutions. So there you go. That is it for today. I hope you found that useful. Love to hear your thoughts as always. I've been Brucey. Most importantly, take care of yourselves out there. Do not play through pain. Do not play through pain. Do not play through pain. That is my message. Take it easy, and I will catch you later.